Jesus was an innovative teacher. Right now, I've been really heavy into Matthew chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 14. Do you notice that every single time somebody was tripping, Jesus wouldn't just correct them, he would teach them in parables. Jesus was the ultimate marketer. He taught, but he taught everything in stories. All of the parables that we know, the parable of the talents, the parable, when he taught us all these different things. It was so amazing how he basically was able to teach everything via story. And from the story, he would basically do the parable, and then he would do the point. He would do the parable, and then he would do the principle. And he would do that every single time, and that's how he was able to get people to remember the things that he wanted them to remember. He was an innovative teacher, and he did it through story.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you, as always, my friends, for joining me. I want to make this a Christmas special, okay? We're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about you. And we're going to use this episode first to honor my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. Merry Christmas to all of you. And to those of you that don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays to you as well. But as you know, I celebrate Christmas because my Father, my Lord, and my Savior, Jesus Christ, this is the time that we honor his birth and him having his stint on this earth in the form of a man. And so there are so many amazing things that we can learn from him that I believe will allow us to be better as we go into next year. So I want to use this episode to talk about that and to talk about some of the amazing things that he did. And so these are also things that we should aspire to be. Just remember this. In the beginning, in Genesis, we know that God created many things. He created the heavens and the earth. He created creatures. He created us, and he created us in his image. And we know that Jesus came in the form of a man, but was basically God in the form of a man. So I believe that we should be looking at Jesus and how he was on this earth as a role model, as the ultimate mentor of how can we do things so that we have the impact that we want to have. I believe all of us should be shooting to basically be in alignment with our purpose, okay? And our purpose, I believe, is to bring more people to him, and that's it. So, but I think there's a lot of things that, even if you're not a follower, that you can learn from Jesus Christ that I believe will allow you to be able to fulfill out your purpose better, more efficiently, more effectively as we go into 2025. So let's talk about some of the awesome characteristics of the guy that we're celebrating during this time of the year. So the first thing is Jesus was a visionary leader. Jesus was able to lead people so that even to this day, 2,000 plus years later, we are still following his teachings. We're following his word. And he was so humble while he was doing it. Okay. He led disciples. He led people, said, look, this is what you all need to do. This is who we're doing it for. He was an amazing, not just leader, but a visionary leader. Okay. He was able to get us and get the people of that time to lock in to what he was saying and what he wanted us to do. So I think that's one of the huge things is like we need to be much better leaders and visionary leaders. You know, a lot of people, it's so funny. I was doing an event a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that I said to the people is, I gave them some of the numbers behind entrepreneurship. Like 75% of people that start a business will quit their business within 5 years. Okay. There's like 25% that don't even last a year in business. And I think a huge reason for that is because they don't have the vision. It's not that they're dealing with obstacles. We all deal with obstacles. There's just a group of us that are like, I'm going to fight through this regardless. I think those of us that are able to fight through the obstacles, we just have a stronger and a bigger and a much more compelling vision than others. So for us, it's worth it to fight through it because we know that on the other side of this obstacle that we're going through, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And I believe that's what Jesus was able to do. He was able to be not just a leader, but a visionary leader and cast out a dream and a goal for us of what things are going to be like so that we would follow his words and we'd follow what it is that he wanted us to do. I think that's number one. Number two, he was amazing at building a team. He was amazing at building a team. And what I love so much is that not only was he able to build a team, he was able to build a team of so many different types of people, whether it was just the normal dude. It was the guy that was heading the church. It was the accountant. He was able to bring so many different people with so many different skill sets to help him with leading and directing out his mission. As entrepreneurs, there is only so much that we can do without other people. And it's like, I'm seeing so many people right now that we're trying to help, and they are struggling so much with not only recruiting people, but building a team and retaining the people that they are building. There's so many people that are like, I'm so sick and tired of investing in people, and then they leave me. Man, go look at what Jesus did. Go look at what Jesus did. He built a team. He built a team of ordinary people, saw what their unique gifts were, and said, listen, you are going to help me with fulfilling out my mission, and we're going to use your unique gifts so that you can help me in doing something amazing. The dude was the most amazing recruiter. Oh my goodness, we can learn so much from how he was able to do that. Okay, let's talk about number three. Number three is Jesus was an innovative teacher. Right now, I've been really heavy into Matthew chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 14. Do you notice that every single time somebody was tripping, Jesus wouldn't just correct them, he would teach them in parables. Jesus was the ultimate marketer. He taught, but he taught everything in stories. All of the parables that we know, the parable of the talents, the parable, when he taught us all these different things. It was so amazing how he basically was able to teach everything via story. And from the story, he would basically do the parable, and then he would do the point. He would do the parable, and then he would do the principle. And he would do that every single time, and that's how he was able to get people to remember the things that he wanted them to remember. He was an innovative teacher, and he did it through story. So he was marketing, and he was teaching. Marketing, teaching, getting people to understand, teaching them a point, not just giving them the principle, but giving them the parable, which is a story, and then giving them the principle after the story. Absolutely amazing. Number four, he was so willing to adapt to change. From the day that Jesus was born, we saw the wise men change course and not go back to King Herod and tell Herod where Jesus was. Okay, now that wasn't necessarily Jesus, right? But we saw Jesus' father Joseph do the same thing. He heard a dream. He felt like he was given a dream, and then they adapted. It seems like as Jesus was growing into an adult, he had to constantly adapt and change in order to fulfill out what God had wanted him to fulfill out on this earth to do. I think that's really awesome. To me, it says a lot about what we need to do as entrepreneurs. We need to be willing to adapt. Like, I would have never thought that a huge component of how I'm helping people is through integrative artificial intelligence. Like, who would have thought that 5 years ago? Like, I would not have thought that, but I've adapted, right? When I initially started SSPT was not supposed to be to help people build businesses or do solutions-based offers or go online as healthcare providers. SSPT, when I started it, was to help you be a better employee by teaching you non-clinical skills so that those that are newer grads could actually bring up their value in different ways. But I adapted to the market. I adapted to what my clients were telling me was happening now that they went back to their employer. The employer that was initially happy that they learned all these things so they didn't have to pay somebody else was now intimidated by the skill levels that my students and the people that I mentor were getting. So we had to change. And we've had to continually adapt. Well, guess who else adapted? Jesus constantly adapted to the marketplace. constantly. And it allowed him to fulfill out the entire mission of what was predicted for him to do in the Old Testament. So let's keep that in mind. I think the next thing is the long-term impact. Here we are, December of 2024. More than 2,024 years later, and we're still celebrating the impact that Jesus Christ has had on this earth. I want you to think of everything that you're doing right now. Is every single thing that you're doing right now, in essence, about what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks for you, or the next month, or the next 2 months? Or is it about the mission that you're trying to do and what's going to happen in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? He thought long-term in every single thing that he did. It was long-term. That's what I think we should do as well. Everything should be about the long-term implications of what it is that we're trying to do, what we're trying to fulfill in our mission with the audiences that we're serving. Those are 5 crucial things that I think Jesus was able to do that we as entrepreneurs, if we did better, I think it would make us a lot better of entrepreneurs. So let's honor the GOAT. Here, you know what? Let's do a bonus. You know one other thing that I'm thinking about right now that was so cool that Jesus did is he was so resourceful. He was so resourceful. I mean, we have to talk about feeding the thousands. We have to talk about that with a few loaves of bread. Jesus wasn't all about, I need more resources in order to fulfill out my mission. He was resourceful in everything that he did. Man, I think that's one of the biggest positive characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. So they're so resourceful. And I was like, well, if I had this, if I had that. He never focused on lack. He just focused on, this is what I have. Let's make it happen. That's Jesus. Merry Christmas to every single one of you. And let's learn from the person that we're celebrating for the rest of this month. I love you guys. Merry Christmas. Till next time.